Thank you for coming by Tori Magoo 44. Today is the 10th of February, and we're rocking and hopping. The Church of Scientology is, oh my goodness, totally proving that the net, the internet, and all of you out there are truly creating history at this point. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Scientology, the Church of Scientology, and how they used to slander people, and they still are trying to slander people, but what's the difference in it? This is for any media, anybody new. Most of the people that are on this are pretty hip to it, but people come on this every day and go like, they slander people? You know, how could they slander people? Tom Cruise is in it, John Travolta's in it, Kirstie Alley's in it. How could this happen, right? And that's a good question. I've said forever, because when I left, people said, you were in for 30 years? How could you be in for 30 years? And I thought, the Truman Show, right? Have you ever seen the Truman Show? If you haven't, rent it and watch it, because it's very similar to Scientology. Truman was born into this television show, basically, that they ran on him for years and years and years. And he thought it was true. It's the same as the Church of Scientology. When you're in it, you cannot see the walls. You literally can't. They very carefully make sure to manipulate you so that you're so busy you don't have time. Now, Debbie Cook, who used to run one of their top flag land base in Clearwater, Florida, where they brought in millions of dollars. I was there for years when she was there. And she ran it. She was great at it. They loved her, right? And now, because she left in 2007 the Sea Organization, and they paid her some money, basically, to try to shut her up. But they're saying it was to help her, right? $50,000 to help her. They pay them $35 a week, basically, the Sea Organization. But now they're going to pay her $50,000 to help her? Sure. So, yesterday, something monumental happened, where in court, what had happened was they went in court and got a temporary restraining order saying Debbie Cook cannot, because they had sued her $300,000 because she'd sent out these emails on New Year's Eve about 3 things wrong with her church, right? That's all. To a bunch of people. So they sued her for $300,000 saying you violated the temporary, or our thing saying that our agreement that you won't ever talk about our church, right? And so they put on this temporary restraining order saying she cannot talk about the Church of Scientology. Really, normally in the old days, that would have really worked. Their old method of thing, they always have had, Hubbard said you could declare someone, let me get it right side up, suppressive. See here, suppressive, declare, Tori Bazazian. That was my married name. You see it happened September 15th, 2000. That was the day after Mark Bunker put up Magoo dancing in Boston, which was a video he made about Bob and Stacy picketing. I happened to be there. I didn't really know it was like, I wasn't making a video. I was trying to talk to the staff. And if you go watch Magoo dancing in Boston, I'll put a link here so you can see it. But, you know, it was just me talking to them. He put it on the net. They declared me the next day. I never had any ethics handlings, which per their tact you're supposed to have. I never had a committee of evidence. I never had anything. They never asked me a thing. They just declared me suppressive, which is totally out tech for them. And was one of the things that Debbie was talking about, which is David Miscavige now is changing the technology within the Church of Scientology, which is a total violation of something Hubbard wrote in the very beginning, keeping Scientology working. And you cannot ever, it's a high crime to change the tech of Scientology. But Miscavige is doing that. So she was talking about that, saying that was one of the things that wasn't okay. Anyway, in the old days, someone like her left, number one, they would immediately slander her with everyone. I mean, I remember Ivan Obolinski, he used to run one of their advanced organizations, was, you know, just top dog. They loved Ivan. He brought in more money, more stuff, helped more people, was the greatest guy on earth. And one day it was like, don't talk to Ivan, he's declared. I'm like, what? You know, what happened? I mean, he was like, you know, the king of the earth. It was him and Anzo, right, which is Australia. And those two were always like, you know, trying to beat each other each week. But Ivan was like way up there. And all of a sudden, you know, goes from the top down, that's it. tons of executives. Now, Mike Rinder, who used to be their public relations, Mr. ran all the PR for the church and kept everything white and glorious. Well, Mike left. So what is he now? Nothing. Get off our property. Marty Rathbun used to be right next to David Miscavige, top executive, left. Shh, he's nothing. Don't talk to him. He's awful. It's like you have to remember, to anybody in the media, L. Ron Hubbard said there's only 2% of the entire population who are declared suppressive. Now, that's 2.5%. That's it. The truth is they have more people out declared suppressive now than they really have in and operating. There's tons, there's thousands of us, and groups and organizations. You can Google suppressives, SPs, online, and there's a list that just goes on and on and on, and that ended in 97. Not that the SP declares ended, they've had monumentally more declared, but they stopped listing them on that list. So there's thousands and thousands of us now out, and because of the internet, thank you to everyone that passes it around, they cannot slime people like they used to. They used to be able to say, oh, Debbie Cook, this and that, she's awful, she did this and that. And Hubbard said, if you don't have dirt on someone, make it up, right? So they just make up some stuff, twist it around. I mean, they've got a letter about me. I left. I wasn't going to speak out. But because they just kept bugging me, you finally go, you know what? I have a right to free speech too. And that's probably what's happening with Debbie. She was in their church. If they would have been smart, they would have just left her alone. Because it's like, you know what? Okay, maybe she sent out an email to a bunch of people. They could have just said, hey, she had a little bit of a disagreement. That's all it is. And probably most of the people would have gone along with it. But now it's in every major magazine. Now media are picking out. The Village Voice has been in the courtroom. Thank you, Tony Ortega. You've done a great job of letting us know what actually happened in the courtroom. So it's like, and it's on the net like that. You know what I mean? Like he's in the courtroom typing and putting it on the net. And we're like putting it up for everybody else. So it's one of those things, it's like those days where corporations could just slime somebody and cut people off, and nobody could ever talk to them. Because remember, if you're declared suppressive, no one can speak to you at all. Or, Hubbard said, you will be declared. And then you're cut off from all your friends and family. Now, in the old days, that worked pretty good. Because people were really afraid of being declared suppressive. Me, even in 2000, I really didn't want to be declared suppressive. But there is a point where when you see enough darkness that isn't really what you're for, there was a point where I had to say, no, I can't it's either dig your head in the sand and pretend you haven't seen all the shit that I'd seen, or stand up for freedom. And I choose freedom. And I thought my friends, my really good friends, would come with me. I really did. I was shocked to find out they would stay, when I left. You know what I mean? And one of my best friends is out spreading all these lies, flat out lies about me. And her son told me this, and told me the things she's saying. And it was just like, oh my God. I had an affair. I called her up. I said, who the hell did I have an affair with? Bring him over. I want to meet him. But, it's just, that's what they do. That's what they do. There's slanders on the internet for people to read, and you can make up your own mind. But I say, talk to both sides. That's where the line draws. Because you can go, well, maybe they were right about Debbie Cook. Maybe she really was this awful person. She worked for him for 17 years running the Flag land base. How bad could she be? Do you know what I mean? That she was like a top dog in the Church of Scientology. And now they're going to try to diminish her to, she was nothing, she did a bad job? Come on! This is fantastic for all of us, because it really shows who they really are. It's one of those things where they in the old days, they used to be able to keep it behind closed doors. So it was sort of like, come on in here, here's the deal, so-and-so's this and that, don't tell anybody. It was very insidious. They would go to your neighbors and start saying, oh, you don't know this and that about so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And people would believe it because Tom Cruise is in it, John Travolta's in it, it must be true, right? But now you can go on the internet, and most of us say, look at both sides, make up your own mind, because we have the freedom to do that. The Church of Scientology no longer can do that. Actually, they never could do it. That's why I think Hubbard created the PTS-SP. PTS means you're a potential trouble source, which if you're ever ill, if you ever have any really big problems or anything, you must be PTS. You must be connected to some suppressive. And thus, everybody pretty much kind of drops away from you. They don't want to be connected to you because you must be connected to an SP. An example, I have epilepsy. Epilepsy it's a physical condition, right? That's it. But for 30 years, it was run on me like I was connected to an SP, and thus, a lot of people had to, stay at a distance from me. Thankfully, my mother stood up for me because they wanted me to get off my medication, and it was really screwing me up, and they probably would have killed me, which is what she said. They're killing you. You have to take your medication. Either you're on it today, or I'm going to fly out there myself. And believe me, L. Ron Hubbard and the Church of Scientology will never forget your mom. And I knew my mom. I knew she could kick serious ass. So it did. I got back on my medication. I still had to fight him for 30 years. I woke up. I escaped out in 2000 July of 2000. And on this YouTube site, you can type in the search engine escape, and it's got a 10-part series of what happened, how I woke up, how I escaped, the whole thing. It's pretty cool. So anyway, the days of them sliming people and it just being in the closet, it's not going to work. People, even in the Church of Scientology, you have access to all the information now. They used to put a net nanny on our computers. They did it covertly. We didn't know it, but they did, and it blocked out all the N theta or bad news. But now, you can't put a net nanny in every single coffee shop and every single office where people work. It's just not going to work. So people have access to this kind of communication. And I say to you, look at both sides. Listen to both people. Make up your own mind. Start thinking again. Scientology gets you to slowly stop thinking. Because if you think, it's going to read on the meter. If it reads on the meter, you got to pay for it, right? Because you got to handle it. Because then it's like, well, who are you connected to? That, well, I listened to Tori. Oh, okay, well, we better send you to ethics, which you have to pay for that too. Because ethics will send you to get fixed. You know what I mean? It's like it's a constant money kind of thing where they care about you. But I say to you, look at both sides, read both sides, and to everyone that's been part of this, congratulations. This is fantastic. And Debbie, I'm with you. Good luck to you. And I really think it's great that you stood up for your own rights as far as the temporary restraining order. Today, the Church of Scientology monumentally withdrew it. They've never done that. We're all like, they withdrew it? They've never done something like that. This is a first. So, very good. So congratulations to everyone. I love you. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy Friday.